If you like this video, please consider supporting me on Patreon. For just $1 a month, your name can appear at the beginning of this and many other upcoming videos.
According to Rule 13.2, players can join the game at any time, provided they start from 0.
Wow, these rules are really convoluted.
Thank you. Finally someone said it. A Trivial Pursuit is one of those episodes that's really got people split on it. A lot of people like the humor, silly faces, and character interactions, while others weren't a fan of the overuse of faces, Twilight's characterization, and the moral being a retrend of one that we've already had in the past. So what did I think of it? Well, I'm one of those people who finds himself leaning in both ways. It's certainly an improvement over the last one, but even then, that's not really a hard thing to do. Twilight is getting ready for this week's game of Trivia Trot, where she plans on winning 3 times in a row. But when she's paired with Pinkie Pie, she begins to panic, believing her chances of winning are severely low. To ensure victory, Twilight resorts to extreme measures via preventing Pinkie from helping, ratting out the other players, and purposefully getting Pinkie disqualified. And I can already see the main issue with the episode. Let's start with the one thing everyone remembers from the episode, the faces. And much like the rest of the episode, I'm really half and half on this. Some of the faces are funny. They have zany over-the-top expressions while managing to stay on model. There's actually quite a number of them that I really like. But then there are the faces that are really distracting and not very fun to look at. Some of them end up going off model, and some just look like they were sort of spliced together. Like they look like they just have the features pasted on them instead of them looking natural and three-dimensional. But I think the main problem with these faces is that the episode relies way too much on them. It's like the staff wanted to make one more episode about Twilight going crazy before the series ends and wanted to put absolutely everything they have into it. On one hand, it does showcase how much bigger the animation has gotten over time and how they're able to do new things with a bigger budget. But on the other, it feels like the staff are relying way too much on these meme faces for fans to trend about instead of coming up with actual jokes. It just comes across as shameless fan pandering, which is fine if it doesn't come at the expense of the writing quality. And unfortunately, a lot of these meme faces just feel like excuses for jokes. They're not all bad, as I said before, there's quite a lot of good ones, but a lot of them also feel like they're trying way too hard. I guess in a way it depends on what type of faces you're into, but that's ultimately something that's up for debate. But the best thing about the episode is definitely the different character interactions. We get so many different pairings and varying character exchanges that we've never seen before, and they're all really well written. It's one of those episodes that has an ensemble cast but manages to fit everyone into it in a way that doesn't feel overcrowded. The way their different personality types are utilized contributes to funny chemistry between all of them, and the interactions between all these supporting characters aren't fueled by any meme faces. The jokes are entirely about their contrasting personalities working off each other, so the comedy feels organic and fluid, and the competitiveness between them is never portrayed in a negative light, instead showing everyone's ambition to win in a way that doesn't feel overplayed. The pairings themselves are fun too. Rainbow Dash and Applejack are being competitive in a way that doesn't regress their character. And unlike non-compete clause, they're in a setting where their competitive rivalry is appropriate. Mudbriar roasting Twilight and putting her in her place for being a sore player was a great comedic moment for him, which I really wish we could have gotten more of since it gives him more personality, which would also make his relationship with Maud more interesting. Even Granny gets some good moments where she feels forsaken by HH hooking on an apple question and having a really chill and appropriate response to Twilight proposing a new rule. That's just to name a few of the interactions, and all of them have something interesting to offer. I also really love the episode's setup and the way it's portrayed. A lot of people might question why everyone is getting so hyped and crazy over a simple trivia game, but coming from someone who's been a part of these types of things, it's actually a pretty accurate portrayal of people getting really passionate at these events, like a group of friends at a bar or family game night, or people getting together at a convention, getting caught in the heat of the moment and going crazy whenever something big happens. It's a really slice of life kind of idea for an episode that's simple but ends up being a lot of fun because of all the possibilities they take advantage of. Another good thing about the episode is how Pinkie gets to be her silly random himself while not being a complete burden. At first she does come across as oblivious to the game and its rules, but it's made clear that she's never played this game before. She doesn't exactly have a complete understanding of how it works, and one of the episode's running themes is that the rules are complete and utter bullshit. The episode also portrays her in a way that feels right. She's potentially as smart as Twilight, which is something that tends to get overlooked by a lot of people, but she's just not as focused as Twilight. The best part about her portrayal is that she doesn't care about the competition and just wants to have fun with her friends, which is the entire point of the game. At the end of the episode, she explains how despite not knowing anything about the game, she just wants to spend time with Twilight. In a way, Pinkie does a much better job getting the episode's lesson across than Twilight does. And with that, I think it's time to talk about the one sore thing the episode has going for it: Twilight's mean-spirited attitude. As I said before, this episode has a pretty accurate portrayal of how people can get crazy and over the top at these types of events. And in some areas, it does help make Twilight's behavior understandable. The trivia contest was something she was deeply invested in, and it's not entirely out of character for her to be like this. She tends to get worked up over personal interests, and sometimes when dealing with bigger issues like her responsibilities as a princess. So Twilight being competitive in and of itself isn't the problem. Even the scenes where she rats out the other players doesn't bother me, since these are things in the rulebook, and this trivia game is something she would obviously take personally as a nerd. So where does Twilight behavior in this episode go wrong? It's actually pretty simple. The point where she starts treating Pinkie horribly. It's not that Twilight is getting overworked over a trivia game, it's that she's continuously treating Pinkie like shit and not letting her participate in the game. She comes across as extremely petty to the point of annoyance, and the episode has this really unsettling way of treating it as quirky and charming, not letting her answer any questions even when they're from a category that she knows everything about, and purposefully disqualifying her just because she was hurting her chances of getting the highest score, which is really scummy. And the fact that she drove Pinkie to tears and didn't even care until she got a taste of her own medicine feels forced. Twilight didn't even have a reason to be like that. At this point, they were ahead of almost every other team, so one incorrect answer every once in a while wouldn't even be much of a setback, and the lesson that she learns would have been a good one for her if it was back in Season 2. Twilight has grown more than enough at this point to understand a lesson as simple as the importance of friendship over competitive play without it being spelled out for her. And what makes it worse is that not only is she learning a lesson she should already know by now, she's learning a lesson that she's already explained to Applejack and Rainbow Dash twice. She's contradicting her own morals in a way that doesn't serve the plot and just being mean to Pinkie for no reason. It'd be one thing if she was inexperienced, but she's not inexperienced anymore. She's going to take the mantle of Celestia and Luna and rule over Equestria. So this doesn't feel like something she should be learning in the final season of the show. So I guess Trivial Pursuit is an episode that isn't bad per se, but one that can be frustrating at times. A lot of the faces feel like forced comedy that the episode relies on too much, and Twilight learning a lesson she shouldn't be learning this late, as well as her treatment towards Pinkie, are pretty bad. But the other elements in the episode help make up for it by giving us something that's really fun to watch. Unlike 246 Great, Trivial Pursuit relies on much more than Twilight being oblivious. It has a lot of fun character interactions in a down-to-earth setting, and a setup that's actually pretty interesting to see them play out. It's an improvement over the last episode, but just not in all the areas that were important. So I guess you can take that for what it's worth and wait for what happens next. So until next time, take care of yourselves and stay awesome. This is Map, signing out.